Creative English Language Learning and Teaching activity, or as known as Celta, is an activity designed to promote and to express creativity during teaching and learning process, specifically in English language classroom. We, the TESOL student of UiT and Puncak Alam, Part 5, who are taking TSL 620 Creative Writing, are assigned to create a Celta. This assignment is an integration between the knowledge that we learn throughout this course and the construction of a lesson plan. We need to create a creative activity for an hour lesson. Therefore, we came out with a language game entitled Grammar Chef. Our group consists of 5 people from ED 2415C. My name is Muhammad Afiq and I'll be the first presenter presenting the introduction and description. Next, the second presenter, Iman Ashraf, will be presenting the content and procedure. The third presenter, Sharifah Atira, will be presenting the significance, and the fourth presenter, Nurul Fatiha, will be presenting the advantages, and the fifth presenter, Sofiatul Husna, will be presenting the disadvantages and conclusion. Grammar Chef is a grammar-based language game created for English language subject, and it was inspired by a real-life cooking show, MasterChef. The students' mission for this language game is to present a simulation of a cooking show with their group members. The targeted learner for Grammar Chef is Form 3 students which acquired minimum level of CFR B1, especially low to intermediate proficiency. The time allocated for the lesson which include this game is 1 hour. The lesson number that is suitable for this game is Form 3 Lesson 16 and the topic Food, Food, Food. This game focuses on speaking skill, preferably speaking 2.3. Use appropriate communication strategies and grammar, especially countable nouns, uncountable nouns, and quantifiers. The purpose of Grammar Chef is to create a platform where the students are able to apply their knowledge in their newly learned food-related vocabulary and a revision for their knowledge in Form 2 syllabus, specifically in countable nouns, uncountable nouns, and quantifiers. The students must acquire a certain degree of understanding and knowledge stated previously in order to conduct this language game. The objective of Grammar Chef are, at the end of the lesson, people should be able to express understanding in countable noun, uncountable nouns, quantifiers, and discourse markers through simulation. This activity will contribute towards the main objectives of the secondary education, such as by the end of the secondary education, peoples are able to communicate and with appropriate language, form, and style in variety of contexts. The flow of the teaching and learning process is: first, the teacher plays a video about cooking a chicken soup, which highlight the usage of countable nouns, uncountable nouns, quantifiers, and discourse markers, followed by the grammar rules, and finally conducting the Grammar Chef.
Okay, now let's move on to the content of Grammar Chef. So basically, the content of this game is based off of a language game. Okay, so it is a language game that targets for Form 3 students to use new vocabularies relating to cooking and kitchen. Okay, so for the format of this language game, is similar to a cooking show format. And in this language game, we are going to be using two teaching materials, which would be realia, such as cooking pots, cooking utensils, dinnerware, plates and cups, and many other realia. And then for the second teaching materials would be the cutout pictures. And for the cutout pictures would be of the ingredients and its name written at the back of the picture. For instance, we will take green pepper, and then there will be a picture of a green pepper, and then at the back of the picture, teachers will write green pepper so that student knows that this picture is green pepper, for instance.
Hello everyone, it's me, Teacher Iman, and welcome back to my cooking show. So today we are going to cook chicken soup that is very easy. So for this menu, you will need half chicken, which you have to cut in pieces, and then 1 pack of soup spices from Adabi, and then 6 glasses of water, and a bit of salt to taste, and 2 sticks of celery. Make sure to finely chop the celery, alright? And then half stalks of carrot, which will be halved and diced, and then 2 potatoes, which will be halved, and a cup of cooking oil. And as for the other ingredients, you will need 3 cloves of red onion, 3 cloves of garlic, and 1 inch of ginger. Mix all of these ingredients and using pestle and mortar, and grind and mince the ingredient. And then as for garnishing, you will need crispy fried onion and parsley. Now, let's move on to the steps and procedure. Firstly, you have to cut half of a chicken into small pieces. Next, finely grind 3 cloves of red onions, 3 cloves of garlic, and 1 inch of ginger using pestle and mortar. After that, pour a pack of soup spices from Adabi and mix well with a glass of water until it becomes a paste. Then, heat some oil in a wok pan until hot. Add all the finely grinded ingredients into the wok pan. Later on, saute the ingredients until it became golden brown color. Meanwhile, you have to add 6 glasses of water and put chopped potatoes and carrots into the wok pan. At this point, turn the stove into medium heat. Let the soup simmer and uncover. As soon as the soup started simmering, add the raw chicken pieces and don't forget to add the soup paste from Adabi. Another thing, do not forget to season your soup with a little bit of salt. Remember not to add too much salt. After that, add some chopped celery and let it simmer a little bit more. Lastly, garnish your chicken soup with chopped parsley and some crispy fried onion, as many as you want. There you go! Now, we have an easy and mouth-watering chicken soup ready to be eaten!
Based on the accelerating and interesting cooking show video that was performed by teacher Ayman just now, we can see how well he cooked all the ingredients by using relevant countable nouns, uncountable nouns, quantifiers, and also discourse markers. So let's go through the different grammar topics and the rules that comes along with it. So for countable nouns are for things that we can count using numbers. They have a singular and a plural form. For example, she has 3 dogs. 3 dogs refer to the number of animals, so they can be counted. And the second one, I own a house. A house is a type of building that can also be counted. The third one, I would like 2 books, please. 2 books refer to the number of things, so they can also be counted. For the fourth one, how many friends do you have? Friends refer to the number of people, so they can also be counted. For the uncountable nouns, they are for things that we cannot count with numbers. They may be names for abstract ideas or qualities or for physical objects that are too small or too amorphous to be counted. They are used with a singular verb. They usually do not have a plural form. For example, the first one is, he gave me a great deal of advice before my interview. A great deal is a singular verb that refers to the advice. The advice cannot be counted. For the second one, can you give me some information about uncountable nouns? Some is a singular verb that refers to the information, which is cannot be counted. The third one is, he did not have much sugar left. Sugar cannot be counted, so the singular verb used is much. For the fourth one, measure 1 cup of water, 300 grams of flour, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Water, flour, and salt cannot be counted, so the singular verbs used are 1 cup, 300 grams, and 1 teaspoon. And the fifth one is, how much rice do you want? So rice cannot be counted because it is too many, and singular verb for it is much. For quantifiers, it is a word or phrase which is used before noun to indicate the amount of quantity. Or quantity, for example, like some, many, a lot of, and a few. These are only some of the examples of quantifiers. They can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns. For the discourse markers, they can be referred to or more commonly as linking words and linking phrases or sentence connectors. For example, moreover, in addition, additionally, further to this, also, besides, what is more, firstly, secondly, and others.
Okay, so we've talked about the content of the game. So now we will move on to the procedure of the Grammar Chef, which is the game that we're going to implement in the classroom. So there are 8 different steps for Grammar Chef. So let's go through it one by one. Okay, so for the first step, teacher must prepare lists of ingredients to cook different menus. Teacher will put the list of the ingredients into an envelope corresponding to the menu. So for instance here, let's take an example, fried noodle. Okay, so teacher will prepare a list of ingredients to cook fried noodle, and then teacher will cut it out and put it into an envelope, and then that envelope will be given to students for this cooking game of Grammar Chef. Okay, so now let's move on to the second step, which would be teacher divides the class into 4 groups, and each group will be given an envelope containing lists of ingredients and the instructions of the game. And since the students have no turns just yet, so during this step, teachers will ask the students to draw lots for their turns. And then moving on to the third steps would be teacher gives students a time period approximately 5 to 7 minutes to discuss the cooking steps within their group. So what students can do is students have to sit in their group and then discuss the cooking steps of what ingredients should be put in first, and so on and so forth. And then for the next step would be students will choose the ingredients before simulation of the cooking show. Okay, so for this part, teacher will have to prepare a table full of pictures, the cutout pictures of the ingredients at the side of the table, and then the students will have to choose which ingredient fits for the menu that they will be cooking. So they will choose the ingredients and then proceed to the fifth step, which would be students will choose the cooking utensils and cookware before the simulation of grammar chef. So at the other side of the table, teacher will have to prepare realia of the cooking utensils such as the pot and so on and so forth. So they will choose which cooking utensils that they will have to use in the grammar chef game, so that they will show that it will be a better cookware to use for this particular menu, for instance. Okay, so now let's move on to the sixth step. Okay, so for the sixth step, which would be once the discussion time is up, students will start their cooking show with a time limit of 10 minutes per group. So what students will do during this 10 minutes is students will showcase their speaking skills and also their uh, teamwork skills between their group mates, and showing on how they will ask their group mates to pass the salt, for instance, and how they will show um, they want to cook something, for instance, they want to cook fried noodle, what ingredients should be put in first, and then it goes on and on and on for the 10 minutes. And then once the 10 minutes is up, then teachers can proceed to the next group. Okay, so once all the group has finished, teacher then will have to discuss the language used and also the menu and the ingredients that students have used in the grammar chef.
So the significances of grammar chef is that students will learn grammar aspect indirectly. So since we will assign them to do a task, they will learn about uncountable nouns, countable nouns, and the use of quantifiers indirectly as they complete the task. Hence, it will be more fun and a memorable way of learning for them. Next, it will provide the students an authentic way of language learning. So since the students will be using realia as teaching aids, and they will be exposed to a real life cooking session by doing role play, the students will learn how to use language in a real world context. Apart from that, this program will also enhance the speaking skills of the students. This is because the students will use this particular skill most of the time during the program for interactions and for doing the role play to complete the task. Last but not least, the students will learn new vocabularies. So because vocabularies is the basis of language learning, we tried as much as possible so that the students will learn new vocabularies as they complete the task. This will happen as they will learn the name of the ingredients such as coriander, parsley, and also the names of the dinnerwares. So they will use these vocabularies in their role play as they complete their task.
Next, we'll discuss the advantages of cooking show. Firstly, it will promote students' creative and critical thinking skill. By solving a real-world problems, kids can get out of the classroom and get into a real-world problems. This will eventually promote students' creative and critical thinking skill. According to Rivers and Melvin, 1977, role-play promotes creativity to language lessons, allowing students to think at higher cognitive levels, where students get to experiment with words and structures, venturing into the unknown, and testing hypotheses about the target language. The second one, the activity is relevant and meaningful. Relevant and meaningful activities are what helps build neural connection and long-term memory storage. These activities are built on previous activity, which are they are learning about countable and uncountable nouns in the classroom, which are not repetitive, which enable students to engage with and develop their skills, knowledge, and understanding in different ways. It is helpful to remember what a student does than what the teacher does based on school 1986. The third one, students can get to demonstrate their skills. Students learn more when they participate in the process of learning, whether it is through discussion, practice, review, or application. By allowing students to manage their choice of activities or project, this will help them develop the cognitive flexibility and self-awareness that is crucial for today's workforce. The fourth one is incorporating collaborative skill. As we all know, collaborative group work can be extremely useful addition to a large class. This small group discussion helps students understand and retain material while also serving the broader goals of developing their communication skills and increasing their awareness of their classroom classmates as learning resources. Besides, this activity involves more than two multiple intelligence, which are logical mathematics, bodily kinesthetic, and also linguistic. Moreover, this activity will boost self-confidence. Roleplay can boost self-confidence because it gives students an instant evidence of success, fosters retention, and stimulates involvement of risk-free environment. For example, when students successfully cook the recipe with the accurate amount, therefore, they have an immediate feedback on the effects of their actions. On top of that, students can take a break from chalk and talk. The use of roleplay is a break from the usual textbook teaching, and students can have the opportunities to mix around and act out different roles. In this case, the atmosphere in the classroom is less formal, and this can reduce tension. In addition, roleplay addresses the needs and concerns of the learners. Last but not least, by having cooking show, it will stimulate authentic conversation during the discussion. According to Richard and Jack, 1985, roleplay and simulation activities stimulate authentic learner-to-learner conversational interaction. The discussion during activities also develop conversational competence among second language learners.
There are also some disadvantages when it comes to conducting this type of simulation activity during the lesson development. First of all, there is time constraints since timing of the lessons is very difficult. This is due to the teacher have to spend a lot of time in terms of the preparation. He or she might not be able to predict on the time that is needed for the activity to be conducted since the ability for each class varied. Besides that, since the approach that is often used is real-time approach, which means the students have to immerse themselves completely in the situation or scenario for a period of time, the students also need to have a lot of time on contemplating on every decisions to be made, either when the decisions have to be made rapidly or when the decisions have to be delayed so that the effects will appear. Either way, the adjustment for the simulation's time scale is very important so that the students can make their own choices flexibly, reflect on the decisions, and focus on the greater detail of the task. The second disadvantage is that it can cause a lot of embarrassment and biasness to the students participating in it. In situations like role-play and simulation activities, for first-timers and also those who are not familiar with this task, this is something that can cause anxiety and awkwardness within themselves when they perform tasks. Thus, choosing appropriate roles for different students need to be done carefully. In addition, it also has cultural bias. According to Richard 1985, these activities are more suited for learners from cultures where learner-directed activities and drama activities are more common. This is due to the learners may not respond willingly to the activities in cultures where teacher-dominated classroom is still the norm. For example, one particular task in this language game may not be the interest of all learners. For example, a menu of fried noodle to be cooked may interest some learners, but all may not be interested in it. This might due to different genders, preferences, or cultural background. The third disadvantage is that the activity may not be suitable for all levels. This is because for role-play and simulation activities that requires a lot of discussion and conversation, this is not suitable for those that have lower proficiency level or doesn't have the communicative competence intended. This is more appropriate for those that have lower to intermediate and advanced proficiency level because they already have the background information and the communicative competence that are necessary for them to perform the task. This is very important because some studies have shown that some teachers or students, they perceive the task differently. So this could be a mismatch and causes problems during the learning and teaching process. The fourth disadvantage is that it has artificial situation. Even though the aim for role play and simulation activities are actually to bring out so much the authenticity that could be presented to the audience, it also can become so artificial to the point where the needs of the students are neglected. This is because it has no longer become relevant. This could happen when the students only speak for the sake of speaking, and also the learners' reactions are very different. Some learners, they react very genuinely in their appropriate roles, but some are becoming more mechanical. In conclusion, every method or approach has its own advantages or disadvantages. So in case with our language game, which is Grammar Chat, from our own observation and analysis, there are certainly more advantages than the disadvantages. Aligned with the objectives of Grammar Chat, we realize how important the role of a teacher is, which is very significant in order to prepare the students to initiate a task by being highly creative and innovative so that they can catch the interest of the learners. The onus of the improvements for the performance also relies on the teacher's effort. Through the language game, we realize that there is no one best method that fits all kinds of different language teaching process. They are all combined in one. And as a result, it can be suggested that conditions suitable for the right amount of exposure, motivation, and opportunities are very needed and need to be provided as well. That's all from us. Thank you.